Thank you for joining the United Constitutional Patriots Radio Show. We're running a little late tonight, but we will have Nuclear Warrior doing the show tonight as our commander is still being held as a political prisoner. So I will now turn over to Nuclear Warrior. So go ahead, Nuclear Warrior.
Okay, Pete, thank you. Good evening, Patriots, ladies, gentlemen, veterans, followers, and all of you people that have been staying with us through the thick and thin of this all. Nuclear Warrior here. I've been on this radio show in the past, and I've hosted it since the incarceration of our commander. And the news on that is more or less the same as it was Friday. He's still in federal custody with the U.S. Marshals Service. He did sound better the last time that I talked with him because he was getting some medical attention for the concussion caused by the fall, and he seems to be improving. I believe he's got another court hearing coming up sometime later this month. When that all becomes more known, we'll let you know about that as well. Been getting a few videos from Jim Benby. He's still working the video stuff down on the border at Monument 1. I don't know that they've ventured back over to where the old base camp was to do any filming or anything there. But the last video that I had, I shared on our MeWe site, and I think it got shared on our Facebook site as well. Started out to be just a real quick interview by some fake news reporters that were hell-bent to avoid the reason that our former group and the folks that are there now are down there for, and they were just prodding and digging and trying to dig into Jim's personal and private life, and that's the fake news for you. They don't want to cover what matters. They'd rather try to dig up dirt and try to discredit. Well, it didn't work out so well. Anyway, that's going to be ongoing as long as we're there to share with America what's really happening on the border, whether it be the United Constitutional Patriots or whether it be the splinter group that broke off. They're going to be in there to try to discredit as much as possible, just like the deep state is trying to do with Attorney General Barr. They're desperate to have him break the law and present the unredacted report, and he's not falling for it. He's a smart guy. Anyway, as far as other activities on the border go, I haven't done much with New Mexico. I've done a little bit of follow-up with some of the folks in Texas. The group that we're also involved with, at least Doc Robinson and myself, is the Angel Parents. We're being quite active with those folks down along the border, especially with some of the ranchers down there. We may be paying them a visit here before long, be able to get some input and footage from what's happening down there on the private property of the ranchers. So when that happens, we'll bring that in here and share it with you as well. We're going to have some Q drops. We've got some new Q drops, and Preacher will be presenting those. And, I think we've got a new group listening in tonight called Americans for Borders. They had a Facebook page, and now they also have a MeWe site as well. And we welcome them if they happen to be watching the video, the live show. And thanks for all of you folks that join us every time we have a broadcast. So just not lots and lots of new news. The biggest thing is the Q drops, of course. Back when we had to drop the broadcast here a few weeks back, that was one of the things that were brought up with a project that was ongoing down at the border that we could not discuss the Q drops because those that asked us to not do it were pretty much convinced that it's conspiracy theory. Well, I've had two instances as of late which would prove that to be not entirely accurate. Personal thanks for just a couple of members of the United Constitutional Patriots group. Things that only somebody that's monitoring our radio broadcasts and also visiting our pages would have insight to know that that's some of the stuff that I follow. So I cannot divulge on any of that stuff because I don't want to give the deep state any other additional ammunition. However, you'll learn a few more things from the preacher when he does the Q drops later on. I have not, other than with Mr. Benvey, the PR guy, and doing the videos on the border, I've not had communication with anybody else down there. But apparently, we Build the Wall Inc., that project is still in the works. Not sure yet where it's going to actually be done. And even if I did know, I couldn't share it because as soon as the ACLU found out it was ongoing for certain and the certain location, they'd be all over that trying to shut it down. And I call them the Anti-American Criminal Liberties Union, because that's all they're doing is they're obstructing, trying to get the border closed. So we're going to leave them to their misery, especially when the lawsuits start rolling in, and they will. You'll hear more about that down the road here at Peace 2. So with that, I'm going to let Preacher go ahead and get some Q drops in here. We got a late start today because we were trying to vet a particular video that Pete would like to share with you. But the problem is that the language is probably not appropriate for putting in the live show if there are youngsters in the area. So we elected to drop that. We'll post it. You can look it up on the Facebook site and also on the MeWe site for United Constitutional Patriots. So, Preacher, if you are ready, feel free to fill us in on the cues.
Well, I am ready, sir. I just got back in the door just a couple of minutes ago. My wife's two daughters and their husbands brought us a brand new outside swing that appears to be weatherproof. So this is going to be a good one. I probably won't be able to keep her in the house now once the weather starts warming up. But yes, I am ready. We'll do the cues. I've got a couple of news items here, newsworthy items that I thought everybody might be interested in, along with those cues. We did receive several cues yesterday evening, folks. They are biggies. We've got some big stuff coming up this week. Excuse me. First news item, I've got a couple of them here that I thought would be of interest to you, so I brought them over here. And one of them is a news article, that says, armed pastor. That's me, because I carry a 9mm and a King James Bible. Armed pastor kills gunman on shooting spree. Okay, says an armed pastor shot a gunman who killed 2 people and carjacked 6 others in Turnwater, Washington. That's in the state of Washington. The pastor, who wishes to remain unidentified, was packing heat as well as a Bible. He noticed the gunman shooting and took action, dropping him quickly with his sidearm. Later, the pastor treated victims with a medical kit from his car. Turns out the pastor was also a trained medic. He remains an unsung hero like most Americans who cherish their Second Amendment rights. So I thought that was a pretty interesting story. I thought, hey, the folks might be interested in. Here's another one that y'all might be interested in, and this came from the Conservative Tribune. And it looks like Mr. Acosta, Jim Acosta, ain't the only one that's going to be losing his White House press credentials. Because it says here, this particular article in Conservative Tribune says majority of White House journalists lose press passes after failing Trump's new standard. If you want to get the highest level media pass, the Trump administration says you'd better be prepared to spend a lot of your time actually covering the White House. Apparently, the majority of journalists don't, and that's causing quite a stir among the media. Earlier this year, the administration rolled out new rules for what reporters can get a hard pass, the pass that allows the easiest access to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. In March, Politico reported that White House reporters grew concerned over the weekend after receiving an email from the press office informing them that they needed to be present at the White House at least 50% of the time to be eligible for a hard pass, a credential that allows for the swiftest access to the ground. Okay, to qualify for the hard pass, you need to be physically present at the White House for your job 90 or more days in a 180-day window of time. Read the email, which reiterated guidance sent to bureau chiefs in February 2017 that apparently wasn't shared widely with reporters. The email noted that journalists can apply for 6-month passes if covering the White House at least 60 of 180 days. Under the new rules, according to Washington Post's Dana Milbank, almost the entire press corps at the White House failed to meet the new criteria. Almost the entire press corps. So it looks like a lot of folks are going to be losing their White House press passes. Well, as far as I'm concerned, it serves them right. Now, to our cues from yesterday. Now, you'll recall on the last show, I began covering the cues again. And I gave y'all a few from April 27th. And one from May the 2nd. The one from May the 2nd, which was the last time Q posted, was a YouTube video. It was a clip from the Karate Kid. And Q said, "You are witnessing the systematic destruction of the old guard. May 2019. Kickoff. Start. Offense. Enjoy the show." Okay, that was 3331. Yesterday, we got several new ones. 3332, Q3332 says, "Boom week ahead." That's this week. "Treason doesn't pay well in the end." Q. Then there is Q3333, which is a Twitter status from Representative Doug Collins, okay, of Georgia's 9th Congressional District, United States House of Representatives. And this is a man that has been systematically releasing for public perusal the closed door testimony of a number of very high level people in this investigation that's about to take the deep state down. And so he posts the link to Representative Collins' Twitter channel, and he says, Q says, "Eyes on." Now that means that he wants all of us Qsters, okay, that are watching this whole thing, ready with our popcorn. He wants all of us to have our eyes firmly on Representative Collins' Twitter channel in the coming days. I have subscribed to that channel, so I'll be keeping an eye on that. Okay, and then we have Q3334, which says, "Attempts by Dems, fake news, and those guilty of treason to shape the public narrative prior to in the kill box by providing falsehoods will fail. Truth to light. No sleep in D.C. Q." All right. Then last but not least, we have Q3335 and an Anon, one of the Anons on the Chan, posted an image, a meme of James Comey standing in the middle of the road with a Moab, which is actually Pepe the Frog or Pepe the Q from the Chans, in the shape of a Moab heading right for Comey. And it says, "Boom time Baker." And of course, Q commensurates with that. He said, "Yep, that's the case. It is boom time." So I believe, based on these cues, I believe the next thing that's going to go down is going to be Mr. James Comey, which a couple of weeks ago there was an episode of the Sean Hannity show where one of the guests said in 2 weeks the a report on James Comey by himself is going to be coming out. Well, 2 weeks is this week. And there's supposedly going to be some big stuff in that report. There's going to be criminal referrals out of that thing. So looks like Mr. Comey is in big trouble. I think it's related to the fact that it's going to come out. This is one of the things that's going to come out. It's going to come out that all 4 of the FISA requests were illegal, and that the guy that signed off on the first one, we've all been wondering for some time who signed off on the first FISA. James Comey. That's what I believe. I'm convinced by way of what I've been looking at and reading and listening to all day long today. James Comey is the guy, and that's going to start the dominoes rolling, folks. So, as we've been prone to say in the past, get your popcorn at the ready, because she's a coming, and she's going to be coming fast in the coming days. That is my basic report for this evening. So I will turn it back over to Nuclear Warrior.
Okay, Preacher. Thanks for those cue drops. We're all at the ready with popcorn here, folks. We have some outstanding issues yet from when we were down at the base camp in Sunland Park, New Mexico. We were forced out of there because of Governor Grisham and the ACLU pressured her to make some action, and we ended up being evicted out of that supposedly public space belonging to the city of Sunland Park. But anyway, we were given a timeline to vacate that site, and it was about a week's worth of time, which was plenty of time to get stuff moved and clean up the site, whatever. But turns out it was actually the next day after they told us we had till the following Saturday. So it was a haphazard and rapid move. Some of the things that have come up missing, we're not sure the location of the pop-up trailer where the headquarters for the base camp was operating out of. Some of the equipment is supposedly, from what I'm hearing from the Splinter group, is it's just gone. Nobody seems to know where, or nobody seems to want to admit where. But the biggest item of concern right now is with the commander's truck. It was impounded and placed in an impound yard. We would like to get that out of impound before the 45-day span before it's abandoned, titled, and sold off. We'd like to get it out of there and back into private custody of someone while we wait for the outcome of the commander's upcoming court date, whether or not it's going to be a trial, whether or not he's going to be held in remand, whether or not he's going to be bonded out. All of these things are still up in the air. We just can't seem to get any information out of his attorney. But the thing is, he's lost quite a bit through this whole ordeal, and we would like to see him be able to keep his old truck, and we'd like to get that back up to his home so his spouse would have access to it. So we're asking for donations to help us recover the vehicle out of impound. I think we need It's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of around $630, I think. Maybe somebody can post the numbers in here for me. It was 404 and changed last Friday, and of course, then there's the $20 per day. And by the time we get the money rounded up, it'll probably be close to 600, maybe a little more, to get it out of impound and at least on private property, pending one of us patriots going down there, claiming it and getting it transported back up to the northwest corner of New Mexico. So that's what we're asking for, folks. If you can make the donations to help us make that happen, you can mail those, check or money order, to Mark Cheney, care of United Constitutional Patriots, Post Office Box 1334, Flora Vista, New Mexico 87415. And for any donations that are to be applied for recovering the truck out of impound, on the reference line, put impound recovery in there. We are also looking for other donations to help with the legal fees that he's sure to incur. And that same address is pertinent as well for that. But on the reference line, put Larry Hopkins Defense, so that we make sure that it gets applied to the right cause. And we would greatly appreciate it if you can make a decent donation towards those two priority issues with the commander. We're looking for volunteers for United Constitutional Patriots again as well to go down to the border, not necessarily the New Mexico border. We have plenty of other border space with lots of open holes that could use some attention to monitor traffic, what's being trafficked, and video it, record it, and get that information to us so we can give it to the American public and let them know that at all locations along the border, from Texas all the way over to California, there are still big issues that need to be resolved. So if you have an interest in becoming boots on the ground for our organization, volunteering, we would prefer that you have a concealed handgun license, because that's a major vetting process unto itself. And it also, in Texas, will allow you to carry for your own protection. Likewise, if you do not have a concealed handgun license, I would urge you to get one. And if you don't want to do that and still get vetted for approval, you can go to your local sheriff's office, request a fingerprint card. They'll fingerprint you right there on the spot, or send you off to one of the fingerprinting folks like in Texas that do it and handle all the interfacing with the authorities. Once you do your fingerprint card, it'll get sent off to the FBI. They will check you out and send back a report to you, so you can make a copy of your report when you get it back, so that we would get the copy. But when you give us the copy showing that you're good to go, redact any personal information, such as driver's license number, social security number, anything of that nature that should be kept personal anyway, and get that to us, and we're sure to find some locations that you can go to if you so desire. I know the other group, they're doing their process as well, but I don't know how they're doing the vetting, who's doing it, but it's going to cost you $35 for them to do it for you. And we would just assume that you do with your money what you think is best as far as getting your approval. So with that, other news, there's some reports coming in of some pretty horrendous diseases with some of these folks that are crossing the border, and they're showing up in different states now. They showed up in Oregon, they've showed up in Washington State, some have showed up in Texas, and we're looking to have more of them show up in other states around the country as these people get moved around, or the ones that have gotten through unmonitored find their way into the public. We're sure to see some outbreaks of some illnesses we haven't seen in this country for a very long time. So we know that there are a very large number of illegals in the country. Some of them are from South America, Central America. Some come from the Middle East, some from Africa, some from Europe. Some of them are armed and dangerous. Some of them are part of sleeper cells. And you, as an American citizen, need to take it upon yourself to be ready and prepared to defend yourself should these cells get activated. Sooner or later, it's going to happen because they're going to just put so much pressure on the resources that the folks that are taking care of the border, like the Border Patrol and sheriffs, state police, what have you, especially here in Texas, you may be required to defend yourself because help from the agencies through EMS is probably not going to be readily available. So for that reason alone, if you do not have a concealed handgun license, you might want to get one and start carrying, especially in Texas. In other news, not really a whole bunch, just weather-wise here through Texas. We're finally enjoying 2 days in a row without rain. We think we're gifted or something, but we got some more rain coming in late tonight, early into tomorrow, so probably the rest of the week will be wet for us. And that's it for me. Any of the other members in the radio room have anything they'd like to add? Very good. Preacher, if you would, give the closing prayer, and then I'll give closing remarks.
All right, sir. We can do that. Once again, as I've said the last couple of shows that we've done, I'll say it again. I'll reiterate it right here. Please keep the commander in your prayers and keep us in your prayers. We're still working at trying to get him out of there. Hoping for good things very soon. So if you will bow with me at this time, Lord Jesus, we thank you so much for this another opportunity that we've had to come here, do this broadcast, and bring this necessary news to those of our listeners. We are ecstatic that we still have the support that we do, and that they do whatever they can to help us. So we ask you to bless them in their efforts. We also ask you to watch over this unit right here at the War Room as we continue to do what we're doing to try to help our commander get out of prison, as well as put this operation back together again. And we know we've got some of our members who are preparing for a move and other things going on. So we ask you to be with each and every one of them. Continue your watch care over our president, his family, and all those working together with him to the betterment of our country and the defeat of the deep state. Continue to let your blood of protection be upon them. Let your angels be encamped around about them. Continue to thwart the plans, the schemes, and the works of the wicked one against them and against us. And continue with us now, Lord, throughout this night and into the coming days. Continue to guide us, guard us, and direct us, and draw us ever closer to one another and ever closer to thee. Be our prayer in Jesus' holy name. Amen and amen.
Amen. Okay, folks, thanks for joining us this evening. Just to let you know that we are all volunteers here. All of the donations that we are graced with go to the causes that I mentioned. We take nothing out of there for ourselves, and we want to make sure that all of it gets applied to the causes that we have brought to you this evening. We have a comment that came in off of the live feed. I'm not going to go into immensely boring detail, but it all has to do with that last video I got from Jim Benvey down on the border at Monument 1 in New Mexico. part just a little bit outside of Sunland Park. The fake news media folks that were pushing him and pressing him and trying to pry personal information, they've done some digging and came up with some information that I need to do some follow-up on and see if it's accurate or not. I'm doing what I can through my channels of intelligence, but it would appear from what they've been bringing to his interview on the last video that they've dug up some stuff on him. To me, it's all part of his personal business and has no business being displayed or pressed or put into any kind of a media article as it was taken at the border. It was supposed to all be about the border and the things that are concerning to Americans. So if you should happen upon that video and hear some of the stuff that's being said there, let it be known that it may or may not be factual, and it most certainly is slanderous. So be careful if you decide that you want to take that information and run with it, because you could be opening yourselves up for some trouble as well. I do not judge. I just bring you the news and the information as best I can find it. And I likewise prefer not to be judged on any commentary that I provide here, because if it's fact, I tell you it is. If it's not fact, I tell you that it is being investigated, being vetted. It is not fact. And when it becomes fact, we'll state it as such in an upcoming broadcast. And that's kind of some of the stuff that split up our group of fine folks here just slightly before the arrest of the commander. And it's unfortunate that those people that have decided to leave our group find it unpopular to become and stay with the United Constitutional Patriots. And my greatest fear is that if it becomes as unpopular to be a Christian, whether or not these folks are going to abandon Jesus Christ as well. So with that, God bless you all. Have a very pleasant week. Thanks for joining us this evening. I hope you find these broadcasts of interest and food for thought, and also food for organization and investigation on your own. That's what we do. We try to stimulate the thought process with Americans, show them what's happening, let them decide if it's worth their getting involved with, either monetarily or in person. It's important that we get the border secured in this country while we still can. So good night, patriots, ladies and gentlemen, veterans, law enforcement folks that follow our channel here. We appreciate you all very much, and we pray for your welfare, those of you who are in support of the law. With that, we'll catch you in here. Hopefully we'll catch you in here. Hopefully Wednesday evening. If not, we'll post something in the live feed box there that no show this evening on Wednesday, but most likely Friday. But we'll try to get you one Wednesday. It might be a short one. It might be some more Q information. And I just wanted to mention also, if you want to do some research on these Qs yourself, there are two very good sites. One is called qmap.pub, qmap.pub, and the other is qanon.pub. So you can go in there and dig up some Q information there. And one of the sites even has some explanation from several folks. Good night. God bless you all. Hopefully see you Wednesday evening.
Thank you for joining the United Constitutional Patriots Radio show tonight. I want to thank all you patriots out there for joining us on our show. And hopefully we'll have a show on Wednesday. And we will let you know if we do. It will be at 6 p.m. Mountain, 5 p.m. Pacific. And God bless all you patriots and have a great night.